I hope you guys are doing well. Well, yesterday I got a very interesting question from a very good follower of mine here. What's his name? Lucius. Yeah, he's called Mr. Lucius, and his question was interesting. It triggered something in me, and I thought I should share. You see, when I was 20 years old, I bought my first car. I bought it from my auntie, and my first car out of the blue. Good morning, Patrick. So my first car was not out of the blue. When I was 20, when I was growing up, one of my biggest dreams was to drive, to have a car of my own. And so when I was 20 years old, I bought my first car from my aunt. Parked her car for some time in the garage. And Christmas period, so she decided that it was time to get the car out of the garage and start driving it. And so we went with her to buy a battery to put on the car, and we put the battery. I had just learned. I had a friend of mine. The guy that taught me was a taxi driver, so I had just driven his taxi for about 3 times. It was manual, and I was learning. You know, Mawanda Road, that car hill there that goes to Mawanda Road. So I had driven his car for about 3 times. I don't know if I was ready, but I just loved cars. So when my auntie told me to go install the battery, I took a border, took the battery, and I decided to drive the car out of her fence and take it with me. It was my first car driving a car on my own. So, but I did not knock anyone. It was manual, so I had a lot of trouble driving it. And I drove it. And she said, "Okay, Arthur, you can keep it." So I kept the car. And along the way, I think on Christmas Day, it was the very first time that I scratched. I was driving them. We were going to the zoo, and I scratched a taxi. That very day, she paid for a taxi and then for her car. Yeah, but then let me keep the car, and I started repairing stuff. Like the car started consuming fuel, and it was the sensor. The sensor was about 60,000, and I bought it. And then along the way, I don't know which other thing broke down, and I bought it. And then I realized I was going to repair this car and put it back in good condition for her to only take it when it's better. And yet she wasn't driving it either way. She was going to park it. So this reason. Anyway, so I still telling the story. So I proposed the car to me, and she says, "You'll give me 3 million." And at that time, the car actually wasn't in very bad condition. It wasn't. Yeah, apart from the few fixes that I made. So I talked to a few guys that knew cars, and I said, mukazi mwebu we sent. Not that they knew her. So I paid her. I first paid her 2 million. And then, yeah, I'm sure you're asking yourself at 20, where do you get the money to buy a car? Yeah, I got it. For starters, I'm a performing artist, and yeah, I've had my way around the stage, so I make some money there. I've been making some money on the stage performing drama, yeah, since I was 17. So I paid her first 2 million, and then along with the 1 million, and then she gave me my logbook. So that's how I got my. So when I bought it 3 million, and that was about 12 years ago. So Lucius, in yesterday's broadcast in the evening, if you didn't watch it, you can go and watch it, asked me, "You have driven over 20 cars. How come you're still driving cars below 10 million? And yeah, overnight, I thought about it, and I said, okay, I think since we are sharing knowledge, it's important that my followers also get to know this. You see, buying a car is sort of like buying a phone. If you're the kind of person that decides to buy the iPhone 14 simply because it has come out, you may soon kyebayita okutomera. You get. But you're the kind of person that buys a phone because you need it for something, because it serves the purpose that you want it to serve, then you'll soon be happy if you're not already happy. For starters, I'm the kind of person that never believed in buying a phone that's beyond 350,000 or something. Then along came the time when I did Uber and I had to buy a phone that had 4G and had a big processor and all, and I think that's when I bought my Techno Pavois. I bought it about 500 then, and yeah, it was the first time, actually it's the first time I bought a car that was 10 million. I bought a Vitz, and I simply wanted to get extra income, and so I bought a Vitz at 10 million. I enjoyed that car. And then I bought a Pavois, the phone, at 500. They had just come out, the L8, Techno L8. They had just come out. I had never believed in buying a used phone. Yeah. So I bought, that's why I kept buying Technos and Technos and Technos. So normally I would buy a Techno at 300, 250, 280 because they were new boxed. So yeah. And I have a friend of mine that deals in phones. So I would go and buy at wholesale price. So even the Pavois that I bought at 500 was on the market price was actually 650, but I bought it at 500. So I bought the Pavois and then I did Uber. And then along the way, the Uber business wasn't working out, and then I got back to doing my normal business. So I realized that I was keeping a car at 10 million, yet I needed capital in my business. So then that's when I sold the Vitz. And then I bought a Raum. I sold the Vitz at 9 million. And I bought a Raum at 6 million, yeah, and then I used 1 million to do minor repairs on the Raum, and then I kept 2 million that I invested back in my business. So when I was 20 and I bought my first car, you know how family can be. There were some family members. I learned this later on. So one of my cousins comes to me like last year, I think, and then he said, "Arthur, you disapproved us. We thought you would never manage having a car for all this time." Remember, I was 20 years and I was driving a car of my own, and most of these old men in the family did not have cars. So they kept saying, umwana, but I kept driving a car, and then along the way I built my first house at 26. Now there are guys that built their first houses at 19, I imagine, but in my family, building a house at 26 not only shows maturity, but it shows also discipline, and it shows being exposed. So I built my first house at 26, and I kept driving a car. So one of the things that happened when I built my first house is that I had a car that, well, let's say at that time, I knew I could sell and buy another car and keep money. So when I built my first house, I actually ran out of cash. So I sold the car I had, bought another car, and kept cash. So you see, that's how I've kept having a car for 10 years non-stop. So since I started driving, I've never stopped driving. I've never said a motokaka vehicle, it's an expense, I don't need it now. You get? I've never had to say that. And I hope Mr. Lucius actually gets to watch this. I've never, since I started driving, been out of the driver's seat of my own car. And that's how I've managed to keep a car. And if you're asking yourself, yes, guy, we all know someone that bought a car and then along the way sold it, and they went back to border of Footsubish. And one reason I saw guys do this was, first, Arthur has a car, so I have to buy a car. So these guys went on and bought a car because I had a car. And science, or you get. So that's how I did my science. It was simple that you make sure that you drive a car that you can afford to drive and still have cash. The moment that ceases to be, you downgrade to a car that you can afford and keep cash. So you sell the car you have, imagining it's more expensive, keep cash, and also buy a car. You get? And it's a simple strategy. For example, right now I'm driving a car that I bought 5 million, okay, and I invested some money to make it better. If I put it on the market today, I'd get not less than 8 million. You get? Now, if I get 8 million out of the car, it means I can go back and, because I'm downgrading, let's say I'm downgrading because I need capital for my business. I need more capital for my business. So I'll downgrade and buy a car at 4 million and reinvest 1 million to make it better. 5 million. So I'm keeping 3 million that I can invest in my business. You see, you can juggle it like that. However, and this is one reason why I have a video where I say don't buy a car from the bond. It's simple, because when you buy a car from the bond, you buy 25 million. Now, this doesn't apply to everyone though. This applies to hustlers like me. I'm a hustler. I do business. I'm not employed anywhere. And my survival simply bases on the fact that I can have cash to buy and resell, cash to do stuff that people buy. Okay. Sorry, I'm back, and yeah, we're talking about how to juggle. I was talking about the video where I say don't buy a car from the bond. I'm not discouraging you, because if you have the money, it's okay. You can go ahead and buy your car from the bond. It will give you peace, and also having a new car is like having a new phone. Wajitandi say, and basically all the functions work. You don't have to do any repairs. However, you also have to fix some stuff. So you go out to the bond and buy a car at about 23 million, but the moment you drive it out of the bond, it will lose value of about 2 to 3 million or 5 million. It happens. But however, when you drive it out of the bond, you have to repair some things. You have to buy, let's say, sport rims. You have to put a new radio. Sometimes it has rust, so you have to respray it in certain areas. You have to do service because it has been there parked for some time. So majority of the time when you buy a new car, let's say even if you get it from Japan yourself, or you buy it from the bond, majority of the time you're going to spend another 1 to 2 million to make it better. Of course, you don't have to spend it there and then, but you'll spend it one way or another, because it's a new car. By the time you buy a new car, you want something in particular. The same thing happens to us guys that buy Ugandan used cars. That's why we spend money. Most of the times, me, when I buy a car, I can actually drive it the way it is. But I decide that, okay, this car the shocks are not so good, so let me buy the shocks and put them there. I decide, let me replace the suspension. But I could actually have just driven it the way it was, and I would be okay. Okay? One of the things that we normally need to really change on a car are the tires, because the police gets you. And if you don't drive up country more often, the rest of the things can actually stand if you drive town service. See? So even the old car, you really might not have to repair stuff. So you buy a car from the bond and it loses 3 million immediately, but you still know that you're driving a new car. Okay? Now, what happens is, it would not make sense, especially for the hustlers. Now I'm talking mostly the hustlers like me, guys whose lives depend on having cash at hand. It doesn't make sense for you to drive a car that is 20 million when you have a business that is worth 3 million. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. If you have a business, let it be 10 million and drive a car that is worth 6 or 5. You'll have peace. But if your business has no cash to sustain it, it means you don't make enough sales. And that means, if you don't make enough sales, it means you cannot sustain the car. That's why sometimes you find that a person buys a car this year, and by next year the car is actually parked because taina sente zimaintaining, taina sente zigula mafuta gayo. That's why you find people saying, motoka liability. A car is only a liability if you cannot afford it. A house is only a liability if you cannot afford it. I mean, some of them the most peace I've got is because you don't rent and you have your own car, so you can move whenever you want, even if it rains, even when it's dust. If you can still move at night, at midnight, when you have an emergency, you can just go and start your car and go and solve that emergency. That's one of the benefits you get from having a car. However, the other benefit I get from having a car is the fact that I can sell the car I have, keep money for my business, and still buy another car. You can still do it for a new car, no problem. But the biggest reason, the biggest method that has been able to keep me driving and not park my car at any moment is the fact that I have always made sure that my businesses have more cash than my car. You get what I'm saying? And I'm sure there are people that don't mind having a car that is more expensive than their business. It gives them a certain kind of satisfaction, but for the hustlers like me, it's not a very wise decision. That's how I've been able to keep cars. For me, I keep the need for a car as basic as I need to go to this place and go back home, and that's what I need the car for. I don't need a car that will jump. I don't need a car that will do magic. I don't need a car that will cook food. I don't need a car that will feed me. I need a car that I can start, drive to work, drive back home. That's exactly what my cars do. They serve the purpose. That's why I don't believe that I need to spend 30 million at the bond to achieve that. Okay? However, I know that I need to spend 30 million to put in my business, because that 30 million will come back with profit. The car rarely gives you profit. Now, for the guys that plan to use their cars for business, that's a different case. You can actually go to the bond and borrow a car, buy it on loan, and then use it for business to pay back the loan and later on own the car. That's a different case. Okay, but for the guys that are buying cars for personal use, it's a very risky business for you to think that you should just upgrade the car simply because of Kuze. I have a friend of mine who said, I think he's around 38 or 40, and for him, he says his age mates are driving double cabins, so he thinks he should be driving a double cabin. And I asked him, what are you going to be using the double cabin for? And he said, double cabin. And I asked him, where is it written in the Ugandan constitution, or where is it written in the book of life, that at 40 you're supposed to be driving a double cabin? And he could not answer that. And I told him, double cabin should be bought only if you really think you need it. Of the people that have double cabins don't need it. I mean, look at our ministry. Even in the ministries, in the government, they don't really need to have double cabins as part of their fleet. How many times have you seen a double cabin actually do work? Half of the times the cabins are, the trays are actually covered. You get? I think the only government institution that would need the double cabin would be the Red Cross. But even they don't have the double cabins. They have those Land Cruisers, and they put their stuff up on their roof rack. You get what I'm saying? So togura motoka simply because you think you should be upgrading. When Lucius asked me why I'm not driving a car that is above 10 million if I've driven more than 20 cars, it is simple. I don't drive an expensive car simply because I think I should. I drive a car that I need. Like now, in one of the businesses that I do, a lot of people travel. Okay, I have a team that moves. And because of that, I'm going to buy a chigege or drone for that purpose, to ease in the transport, because sometimes people move at night, midnight. So I want to be able to be able to ferry them to their homes. But even then, I'm still doing the math. Is it easier for me to just hire a drone for a day, for about 200 or 250 for a day? He brings my people, and then he takes them to wherever they need to go, and then I just buy fuel. It might actually be much more affordable. It might be simpler. It might, then I don't need to even maintain a van. You see how I'm doing the math? I might end up not buying the van after all. You get? Now, a few months ago, we were contemplating whether to buy land and for our business. And then we thought we need to actually get products before we buy land, because if you buy land and you don't have products that can actually do projects on that land, you'll end up with a piece of land. Would you stuck with it? So now someone will say it's real estate. Real estate gains value. My brother, if you're not in the real estate business, don't dare go into the real estate business. So you get. If you're not in that business, don't buy and think that it's going to be your business. Everyone has a business where they have omukisa. I don't know, where they have luck. That's how it works. I'm a performing artist, but I'm also a marketing professional. I do marketing for companies, for organizations, and for example, you can have a challenge in your business, and you say business yange, a customer I can come and do a diagnosis on your business, and I tell you this is where the trouble is, and this is what you need to do to get your business back on track. So I'm a marketing professional, and of course I've seen this work in my businesses as well. So let's just go back to the matter at hand. Don't buy a car simply because you believe okuze, or simply because bakugamba we size yo otya mukavitizi. Your size does not matter when you go broke. When you go broke, bono yavuwala, your size will not actually matter. I've just seen a person that has a kid that has cancer, and this kid has a very big head. Some of these things that happen, and they make you think about life. Like, you can be there thinking, okay, I have troubles, but then you realize that has a bigger trouble than yours. Now that this person that has this child that anyway, may God be with them. So don't buy a car simply because you believe you have grown fat, so now you need to sit in an SUV. You've seen people that are poor but fat. Okay? I think if you grow fat and you believe now your size dictates that you have a bigger car when you don't have a bigger wallet, the best thing to do is for you to go to the gym and lose the weight. Okay? Don't buy a car simply because webanga height ekutawanya. You buy a motorcycle, a sport. Okay, now it's dangerous, but well, it won't tojja kujigulanga ya bei nnyo kukoza nsobi. You get. So I've managed to keep a car, first of all because I buy cars that I can afford to maintain and fix. Okay? And also too, because I know how to juggle these cars and juggle my money. I always make sure that when I'm driving a car, I can sell it, keep money, get another car, and then put the money that I kept back into my operations of the business. You get. That's what people always tell you, cash flow is king, and it's true. Cash flow is king. Without cash, you are bound to struggle. So it doesn't matter what car you're driving, but over to inner cash. When sometimes girls say it's better in the matters of cars, this is how you're going to buy your first car and not have. It doesn't mean that you're going to buy that first car and stick with it for the rest of your life. Yeah, we upgrade cars and then we downgrade, especially for us the hustlers, my brother. If you're a hustler like me, sometimes you downgrade your car, not that came and okay. In the business world they tell you it's time for me to actually think of surviving other than thinking that I'm living when I'm not. Yeah, and then you see that Prado there. I don't know. You see the Prado? That's the problem that I told you with Prados. The ball joints, they have ball joint troubles. The ball joint just all of a sudden decides to break down, and it doesn't break down when you're going on a high speed. It breaks down when you're going at a low speed, and then so that's what happened to that Prado, and he just brought a breakdown. Now some people are actually tougher. Some ball joint there, and then it's the wise thing to do, because then you don't spend 100 or 150 to break down. Because normally fixes your car on the road, they'll be more expensive. So you'll give the mechanic 40,000 or 50,000 or 50,000, and they'll fix the ball joint from there, and then you'll drive your car away. Yeah. The strategy that you're going to use to drive a car from the first if you're a hustler and you're not employed. For the employed, it's easy. They can even get a loan of 15 million financed by their salary, and they keep paying month after month, so they can pay the car over a space of 2 years without even feeling the pinch, because you get. Yeah, for those guys I'm already in a special category. If you're a hustler like me. Now, if you're a hustler like me, and I believe I talk to a lot of guys that hustle, that need cash to keep their lives moving, you're going to start with a car that is very affordable for you. If you have 10 million on the account, don't get all the 10 million and buy a car. Get 5 million or 6 million. If you have this amount, because when you have a small budget, you're looking to buy a car that will not disturb you, a car that will not break down when you're going to work, a car that will not break down when you're going back home, a car that will simply move you. Okay, that's when you have a small budget, and that's how I started. You get. And as you grow, let's say as you get more money, then you start thinking of, now I need a car that is much more comfortable. Okay, then as you grow, then you say, now I need a car that even has air conditioning. Then as you grow, then you start saying, okay, I think now I need a car, my family is probably bigger, I need a car that has more seats. Then as you grow, then you start saying, now I need a bigger car. Then you say, okay, now I don't mind about the fuel consumption of the car. Then as you grow, then you start saying, now I don't mind about the car. Kasta ebanga ejamu status yande. Kat status doesn't come when you're still hustling. That's something I need us to understand. Status doesn't come when you're still hustling. Status comes when you have reached, let's say you have about 60 million on the account, you have no debt, you have already built your family a home, you have cash flow. So on the 50 million, if you didn't touch the 50 million that month, by the end of the month you'd have 55 million. Now I think I want to buy a Mark X at 32 million, and I don't mind. Let me go buy a Subaru at 40 million, and you don't mind, because you have million on the account, is study car banja, and then still every month you make a 5 million. I don't know if you get, because the more expensive the car that is expensive to buy is also expensive to maintain. You get what I'm saying? If you buy a car at 50 million, maintaining it will not be as cheap as a car that is 20 million. Fuel wise, the spares you buy, the mechanics that work on the car, all those things will be expensive. It's important that you know that. Because sometimes you might buy, in the past, guys that I know used to tell me, diesel to save fuel, to save money on fuel. These days, diesel and petrol are almost the same price, so you don't really save money when you buy a diesel car. Yet diesel cars are actually expensive. The only cheap diesel cars I know are Bighorn, Terrano, those cars that break down very easily. There is a Bighorn that is making rounds on Facebook. The guy is saying, I do better. Don't fall into that trap. It's a big car. It looks comfy. Yes, it's comfortable, by the way, but it will take you back to the village. Okay, let me try to break this down. If you buy a Volkswagen that is not a Golf 4, if I were to buy a Volkswagen, I would buy a Golf 4, because the Golf 4 is one of the easiest car to maintain in Golf. If you buy any Golf that is not a Golf 4, you may easily go back to the village. The Golf 4 is as easy to fix as a Primo. Toyota solo kujikanika. Okay? But if you're going to buy a Golf or a Mercedes-Benz, you need a computer diagnostic, a diagnostic machine. Get a warning light. I'm talking about a diagnosis. If you're going to Toyota, actually, if you buy Toyotas that these advanced years, like 2008 and above, kamashini yako kagule yakagule mtwalo ngana, very simple one. They busoma error codes it wele takatala kanu, you put the machine, then machine tells you in a sensor ye full a sensor uteliko. Then some of these things you can actually fix yourself, again like a sensor no kazi zako. But if you buy a Golf or a Mercedes Benz or a Kia or some, buy a diagnosis machine, so that because there's a Moroka, if you say the single is for being to your mind, the mechanica achiwamvuya, enzo kuvako ka sensor. Uchitegera makanika namanya ka sensor kikavude kuna kusumuza gearbox. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Those mechanics are usually not straight. Okay? So you buy a diagnosis machine. However, what we motoka zota gula even in Toyota ngana zoto zigula. But let me try to list these cars. If you hustler, you don't buy these cars. Okay? One, you don't buy Golf Polo. You don't buy Polo. It doesn't matter which Polo it is. You don't buy a Polo. The Golf Polo. You very yes. Two, you don't buy Mercedes Benz. Apart, if you're only buying, you can buy a C200. But now the mechanic actually told us you need to buy a C200, 2000 model and above. Okay? You don't buy a GDI, Pajero Mitsubishi Pajero GDI. No. You don't buy a Pajero at all. Bobo Chari Hustler. Begenda Kutama. You see, there are guys that are on the Kubiaro, Ngabavuga Pajero shorts. You remember those Pajero shorts? The old shorts. Webali Kubiaro, for now we know those guys. Brokers, or those guys that normally you don't understand what they do. At the Bambeka, they drive those Pajero shorts. They are normally, they make them red, they pimp them. My brother, majority of those Pajeros have Mark II engines. They have Toyota Mark II engines and gearboxes. They changed them. So if you're still a hustler like me, you don't buy a Pajero of any sort. You avoid Nissan. You avoid Nissan at all costs. Okay? You avoid Nissan. You should also avoid Mitsubishi. Bobo Chari hustler. Avoid Mitsubishi. The only Mitsubishi you can buy as a beginner is if you get a Mitsubishi pickup. A pickup, and mostly it's the L200. And I'm imagining you're not a beginner who buys Mitsubishi L200. You buy it because you have a purpose. Probably you do deliveries of eggs, you do deliveries of agriculture produce, you sell chicken, right? you sell watermelons. You get buy it for a business. But in a pickup your Mitsubishi, it's not easy to maintain if you're just driving it for just. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, you avoid Kia. Avoid those strange name cars if you're a hustler. Now, if you're a hustler like me, you buy cars that are common on the road. Okay? It's not by accident that the person is common on the road. Yes, Kamoto Kakanafu, it's weak, but it gets you to places. And as a hustler, the first problem you're solving is the transport problem of I need to get to work. So if you need to get to work, you're going to buy a car that is weak and common on the road so that you can actually get to work. You're not going to buy this car, that one, the Turage. This is not a Turage actually. This is a Volkswagen. Yeah, it's a Turage. Morning, Malik. You're not going to buy a Turage simply because your neighbor has a Turage. You're not going to buy an ML Formatic simply because you saw someone driving a Formatic. Some people take years. I know someone in my industry that drove a Toyota Land Cruiser for years before she actually bought an ML Formatic. And by the time she bought an ML Formatic, her cash flow was there. She was making about 30 million a month. That's when she decided katikangule ML Formatic. You get? Kakati gwe okora million billion mwezi gwe ngogamba let me go buy a Volkswagen Turage ngokora million billion mwezi, my brother. Those are some of the decisions we make as it sura. Okora million yemu mwezi ngogena mu bondi we wola motoka ngokora 1 million a month. Some of these things, I'm not a financial advisor, but these are experiences I've gotten. I know friends of mine that bought cars because ajiguzo rokuba atha ajiguzo tamanyi atha kwa balamu bintu bye atha juggles things. Sometimes I sell a car and put money in my business Then immediately when chikuba in my business, I sell the car that I bought na ntunze eri yange nkadde, and I buy a better car because the man chikubi, I deserve it. Okay, I risked everything for this investment and it paid off. So I upgrade my car again. Kati omuntu bwakulaba sometimes ng'okyusa emmotoka nagahagaya ina sente naye ng'ate olumu you have sold a better car to buy a bad car, to be a worse car, okay, a car that is not as good as the one you had, to be able to survive. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Sometimes you downgrade to survive. Now when you downgrade, about Boba was anti guy. Sometimes of course bagamba guy with them, which take it. Sometimes bagamba guy with them, but you need to know what is the problem you're trying to solve in your life. Because luxury has never been a problem. Discomfort has never been a problem. Discomfort has never been a problem because majority of us don't sleep where we want to sleep, but we sleep where we can afford. So if you sleep where you can afford, why are you deciding to buy a car because of comfort instead of buying a car that you can afford? I don't know if I make sense, guys. I hope I make sense. The strategy for you to buy your first car and never ever go back to Bigere is 1, buy a car you can afford. 2, downgrade when you must. Buy a car you can afford, downgrade when you must. Okay, emotoka bwotuka nga wetaaga sente emotoka gyolina tekusobozesa kuba na cash oyo naye nga bwogitunda osobola okuba ne cash oyo gitunde ogula akamotoka akali simple. I do that all the time. For me, one time I was driving a Viz, the next time I was driving a Vina, and I wasn't ashamed about it because I had a reason to be driving a Chivina, and it worked out for me. I don't know if you get me. 1, drive a car you can afford. 2, downgrade when you must. Don't do it for people. Do it for you. Bonobo yavuwala. People are just going to be laughing at you. Even your friends, even those friends that think, that keep telling you, "Jam sajja wafe, what they say chuma." Boyavuwala bagenda kusekerera busekerezi. I don't know if I'm clear. So from now on, always remember, you should only and only buy a car that you can afford, that you're comfortable having, mumafuta, mukukanika, and only buy a car if you need it. Okay? So that by the time you buy a car ojetaga, and you never have to actually do away with it simply because it has become expensive. Like now, fuel prices have doubled. It means buli muntu abadavuga omuntu abada spending emitwalo 2 a week are spending as a must. Kati abagule moroka nga tebazeetaaga bazi parking. That's why you find parking lots full. Yagule motoka, thank you Joe, and thank you for being here. Yagule motoka nga tajeetaaga aji parking. Me, I drive my car every day. It's expensive, but I need it. It's a necessity. That's why bwe bagamba nti a house is also a liability. Omuntu bw'ozimba ennyumba nga tonnajeetaaga, you will sell it because tonnajeetaaga. You get, like for example, if you don't have a family, toyina baana, toyina mukyala, tozimba ate maka, soko ozimbe ennyumba ezivaamu sente. You can build lodges, you can build rentals. I'm not a financial advisor, but that's my thought. You get, and when you get a family, you get a wife and kids, then you can actually build a home. Back to my ways of for you to maintain, for you to get a car and never go back to Footsubish no matter what. Buy a car you can manage. Downgrade when you must. Sometimes you must. Obera ne motoka yonga ya milioni 15 na yenga business is tough nga you need cash. Techikugasa genda kwewola sente. When you have a car you can sell at 13. Utunde motoka ya milioni 13 nojjako milioni 5 noziza mu business n'okwata milioni zile zisigadde obaziba 8 no teka mu business yo nekolaki nesituka. Let me remind you about my business. Thank you Kenneth for being here. Good morning. Let me tell you about my business again, guys. I sell car trackers. We help make sure that bwogule motoka yatete kuva mu ngalo, you know, omubi asobola okujja natwala motoka just like that negenda and you lose it, but you have a tracking device installed in your car. Motoka yo ogenda kuba nayo, you can even see it on your phone. Omusajja ne bwagibba wano n'ofuluma nga togiraba wo, you just check eri kuki. the app will tell you the engine is running, or by it's idle immediately. It will tell you, okay, let's turn off the engine. You turn off the engine using your mobile phone. Then you grab a board and no go be. You get. That's how much power you get with that tracking devices. You can actually even call the device there and then nobody widanga ba panicking emotoka ezikidde engine ezikidde tukoze tutya nobody widanga baddukamu. You get. So that's how much power the tracking devices will give you. So sagala ochitwala nti bwogula emmotoka it's a luxury emmotoka ye ogirabe erimu sente. My car has money. Kamoka kankano kakadde naye kalimu sente zange in case I run out of cash in my business I can actually sell this car, put money in my business and get another car. You get. I flip, you flip. Now the smalaga flipping for a purpose. You get. So also ekirala tugambye buy a car you can afford, downgrade when you must. Okay, ekirala don't buy for status, don't buy for age. Tewali yomoroka zibakolera basajja ba myaka 4, tewali yomoroka zibakolera basajja ba myaka 6. Normally when people decide to buy cars simply because emyaka jange jejo, they make mistakes. I know someone yatunda nuwa ye enunje nyenyenye agule double cabin ne bamutomeza. And I'm sure right now, for me, I know that he did not need the double cabin. The people that were close to him knew he did not need to sell his car or go to double cabin, but he was in that, you know how council said things happen very fast. That is what happened to him. So he has a double cabin. He's stuck with the double cabin he thought he had use for. Now he knows he doesn't have use for it. So let's not make those mistakes. Buy a car that you can afford. Togura motoka for status or for age. Okay? Then make sure you buy a good car every time. Nebo boguze motoka million satu. There are parameters. Ogule motoka yala isi nesigalange itambula. Like I've said, me I've driven cheap cars all my life, and I've driven over 20 cars. But the reason I drive a lot, I've driven a lot of cars, is because I flip. There are times when I need money for my business and I have a car, so I sell the car, put money in my business, and then I also buy another car. It has not been because the motor has in name. No. I've never failed to actually maintain a car. Njitunda because of a purpose. Then I take a send business, then I buy another car. Normally that's the reason. Of course, wabawe motoka jola bange kwa headache. Noga na ine motoka wempa headache kanjitunde. Kanjiwo muntu omulana ya juulidemu. It happens. But those are not very many times. I think the times that I've sold cars because were because the car was actually not comfortable for me. I just didn't like it and I decided, no, let me sell it. Hi Arthur, can you sell me your Corolla? Corolla yange ya manual. Steve temusobola motoka za manual. Ateka Corolla kange kaleke Steve soko kaleke. Mbanya njagala cover ko nganguze Prius. Akana kamotoka kaleke. Ovanga ku motoka every month I do service. Do you know what that means? It means every month ntambula kilometer 10 meka. Yeah. People do service every 4 months. I do service every month. And it never really breaks down. It never breaks down. Every kind of maintenance I do is every fixing I do is maintenance fixing. Ntimanzi kutereza mukanunka ulide mukante vako Corolla baba Jesu nyiwe. I can help you find another Corolla though. Maybe if I upgrade, if I get a better Corolla, because now I think I want a Corolla that is around 2008. Yeah, then I can if I upgrade, then I can sell this one. Yeah, I've gotten a piece in this car. Yeah, anyway, today Toguda motoka for status. Okay, always know your goals. I just stick to your goals, my brothers. And remember, like Joe told me, he bought a motorcycle. Yes, if you bought a motorcycle, use it for as much as you can. Okujifunemu byojagalamu, so that by the time you buy a car, you actually know that motorcycle etuse wetasobola kunsavingira bulungi, let me buy a car. And when that happens, bonogule motoka, you will not regret it, because ojja kuba motoka nayo badde okolaki ojeetaaga. You get what I'm saying? So I have to go, guys. I have to go to work, and I'm running on a router. I'm going to show you how to make your car generate electricity. You see, I have an internet router here, and it's running on power. So I used my car to convert power, and I can actually charge a laptop in this place. You know, when I moved into my new house, we didn't have power. So for us to actually survive, we needed to charge our phones, the laptops, as we went home. So I found a way of generating electricity in my car until we got power. But even when we got power, I kept this thing in here so I can actually charge laptops and all that in my car. So I'll show you how to do that. But then we got power, then we stopped doing that. Yeah, so I have to go, guys. I hope I've had a good conversation. Togula motoka for status, togula motoka for age, gule motoka josobola. Don't forget that. And don't forget that we sell tracking devices. Watch my tracking devices. Recommend us to them. Tumuguze tracking device za mitwalo asatu mweta no joka. Nga tujiteekamu ng'otandika ng'ofuna maanyi ga controlling amoloka yo ku simu. Yeah. We also sell alarms. The alarm yo ya mitwalo 2. Yeah, I know, Brian. No, don't worry. Morning, you can watch this later. Again, after I publish the video. So we also sell alarms. Yeah, and yes, good morning, Abe. Yeah, we sell alarms as well. So alarm yo ya mitwalo 2. Alarm eyamba ko kugoba babbi bangungu bana banzi bako butaala bichi we can put it nebira sensitive ne waita ku motoka bwati ekubakala akagombe, and we put it ku ngombe nebange banga ngombe, so that one actually scares thieves normally. Yeah, okay, Steve, I'm available, don't worry. Yeah, so I have to go, you guys. It's nice when you guys come and better banji, but now I have to go to work. I also have a day job. Bana, support me, guys. Share my channel, share my videos, and if you have a question, you can always post it. You can reach me on my number 752-991-051. Also, I have to go because, well, the downside of having electricity in your car is that most of the time the engine has to keep running, and akafuta kabei and so I've run my engine for about 10 minutes because I wanted to stay here. Now I have to go. So you guys have a nice day. Mukama batede mu bwangu byonna bye mukola ate nange munsabire bintambwire cat tracking devices za mitwala 3 mwemeka mwetano. Have a nice day. See you in the evening. I'll do a broadcast again in the evening. Ciao.